Reports are surfacing out of Detroit indicating that General Manager Ken Holland will return next season, and it's quite likely that Coach Jeff Blashill returns as well. I'll give you my thoughts and we'll discuss what this means for the team coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the notification bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, there is news reports out of Detroit indicating that General Manager Ken Holland is highly likely to return as General Manager next season. The article I'm referencing, I'll link down below in the description if you want to check that article out for yourself. But it is from mlive.com, which covers Michigan area sports. So, what does that mean for the team? To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised. I'm not completely shocked in a way, but part of me is quite surprised. We did a video not too long ago discussing coaches that were most likely to be replaced next season. And for me, Jeff Blashill was fairly high on that list. And I indicated in that video that I also thought it was a pretty good opportunity for the Red Wings to kind of clean the slate and go with a whole new fresh management and coaching staff. Seeing where the team is at, they're going basically through a full rebuild, and I thought that might be a good opportunity for them to make some changes there. Obviously, Ken Holland's been there a very long time, and yes, he's had a lot of success over the years, but he'd be going into his 36th season. Not that there's, he's done a bad job, but I mean, more recent years, in my opinion, his job hasn't been done quite as well as it was in prior years. He's put the Red Wings in a lot of cap trouble, and he is starting to slowly dig themselves out of that. He has accumulated some good prospects and picks here over the last few years, but I really thought it might be time for a change in Detroit. Obviously, after all those years of consecutively making the playoffs, they're going to miss the playoffs now for the second year in a row, and really there's no real end in sight. It's hard to say how long that drought's going to continue, but it's probably safe to say we're looking at a couple more years here, depending on how things go, before they can really get back into being a competitive enough team to get back into the race. So I found that a little bit surprising, but right now he also doesn't have a contract for next year. And obviously this is not officially from the team. This is just from sources that are talking to the Detroit area media. But it says even if they don't come to a long-term contract or anything, like he more likely is going to return. There is a possibility he might even work without a contract. So that he's not tied to them long-term or they're not tied to him long-term. So, hard to say. Now, that's more likely going to be decided 100% and officially announced before the future of Coach Jeff Blashill is officially announced if he's going to be back or not. Blashill does have one more year left on his contract. This report indicates that they felt it was more than likely that Blashill would return, mainly because the organization is going to look at it and say that Blashill hasn't been given the proper roster to really make a lot of progress. And that really he came into the team after, coming after Mike Babcock's a lot of big shoes to fill, big reputation, and that the team was already starting to be on the downward decline a bit. So maybe it's not fair to put all this on him. And to a degree, that's right. But you got to remember here that Jeff Blashill had a prior relationship with a lot of these players, especially their younger players, because he's coached up through their farm system, and he's proven to be a very solid, successful coach at the lower ranks. So I guess the question is that doesn't automatically mean he's going to be a top, very successful NHL coach. We see the same thing with players. They have a fantastic junior career. They look good in the American League. They come up to the NHL and it just doesn't always translate to success. Not to say that Jeff Blashill won't have more success as a coach. I'm not saying that. He does appear to have a lot of good qualities as a top head coach, but obviously you got to wonder, is he the right guy for the development of all these players at the NHL level? Can he handle the big stage? Can he handle the pressure? Maybe it's a case of changing up some of his assistant coaches. Hard to say what goes down, but personally I really thought Detroit would go in a different direction. But my gut feeling here, now that we know that it's very highly likely, if not a guarantee, that Ken Holland is back, I say he more likely keeps Blashill as well. He's got one more year left on his contract. He's the one that hired Blashill, and I think he'll give him another year with hopefully some of the changes here that he's planning to try to make over the summer and what he's done before, to see what can be done with this team before they make any long-term decisions. Because really, obviously, if they're going to be in a rebuild and they're going to be going through all this development of new players for the next couple of years at least, you want to make sure you have the right people in place that are going to get the most out of these players. And the question they need to ask is Jeff Blashill the right guy for that job or not. You know, based on his history, you would think that he probably is, but at the same time, he hasn't been getting enough out of these young players already. So, you know, it's certainly questionable for sure. I have my doubts. I think they might be better off going in a different direction. Let me know down in the comments what you think of the fact that there won't be likely any changes in Detroit next year. Can they make progress with what they have? Obviously, they're going to continue to try to bring in some more young players. They have some more prospects to try to get into their lineup. But do they have the right people in place to really develop them and move this team forward? So leave your comments down below and let me know your thoughts. If you're new to the channel, I hope you consider subscribing. As we mentioned before, we cover all 31 teams, and there's plenty of content here for all fan bases to enjoy. If you haven't done so already, please consider checking us out on social media. You're going to find our Twitter handle on the screen right here. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and all those accounts are linked in the description down below. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
We'll be right back.